Cam, you ready to make a podcast?
I am indeed ready
Let's
to
do
make
it, baby.
a podcast.
So take one of episode 19. We got about 5 minutes in, and then the Marriott Wi-Fi decided to die on us. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, PSA, we may sound the same, but the boys look different. You know why we look different? Because this is a special day. We are here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the 704, in the baby country, in Charlotte Hornets country, in Panthers country. We're back in person. First in-person pod, me and the big dog Cam here in the Courtyard Marriott. Cam, what's up, brother?
I do want to say before we get started, shout out to the Courtyard Marriott for having us, getting us a private room here to record the Fat Katz. We didn't tell it. We stretched the truth a little bit for why we're here, but they took care of us. So shout out to them, even though they have pretty spotty Wi-Fi. Well, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Funny story about why we're here too. Cam went up to the front desk guy and said, "Hey, can we borrow the conference room? We actually have a call with Sean McVay tonight. He's West Coast, timestamp guy. It's 9:34 p.m. here on the East Coast. I mean, it's 6:34 p.m. 6:34 p.m. on the West Coast. The Rams are just getting out of practice. We had to have our conference call. So
shout out to Sean McVay, friend of the program, great friend of mine. Coach McVay, what's up, man? But we are here for episode 19, man, and we said it on our first 5 minutes of this podcast originally. Can you believe that we made it to number 19 with 20 next week, man? We
Cam, show it off.
We did get some T-shirts here. We're going to be sending them out ASAP to you guys. I got Mom running a delivery for all our West Virginia folks. We got Ward making a delivery out to Raleigh for all you guys. And for all that you guys didn't know, we have one microphone. That's why we're kind of leaning on top of each other talking. Couldn't get microphones to work, couldn't get Wi-Fi to work. So the technical difficulties last from episode to episode with us.
This one's been the worst though. At first it started out with the mics. We couldn't figure out how to connect the mics to the to Zoom. And then second, it started out with we're halfway into a podcast and then the Wi-Fi wants to die on us. But hey, third time's a charm, baby. Let's do it.
Yep. This intro is far not as good as
the first intro was 10 times better, which will get dropped, by the way, at some point because I do have that on my computer.
Well, we'll throw it on the Instagram for everybody who's curious. But as Ward said, it's August 9th, 2023. I want to remind everybody to find us on YouTube and Spotify, the Fat Katz Podcast. That's KATZ. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Fat Katz Pod. Today we're going to be going over our fans' fat takes. We got some great top stories for you guys today. We're going to be ranking our predictions for 1 through 4 for each NFL division today. So no Fat Katz draft. We got Pet Peeve of the Week. We've got full plate, empty stomach, regular show for us. But I do want to get into it, Ward. I want to talk about your weekend, man, because you had a hell of a weekend.
Hell of a weekend. I was down in Fort Myers, Florida, visiting some of our friends from college. But the weekend was great. The weekend ended bad on Sunday when American Airlines decided to strand my girlfriend Madison and I in the Charlotte airport. We land in Charlotte. At first, we had a 3-hour delay in Florida. We finally land in Charlotte. We sit on the tarmac in Charlotte inside the plane for 2 hours because the Charlotte airport did not have a gate for our plane to go to. We then get off the plane. We have 15 minutes to make our next plane to go back to Raleighwood. And then, boom, they cancel our flight. They canceled 10 out of 12 flights on Sunday night for American Airlines because of weather issues when the weather was 70 and cloudy, no rain at all. But then we were stranded in Florida or stranded in Charlotte, and they couldn't get us home until the next day at 5 o'clock. So had to rent it. Tried to rent a car. They wouldn't let me. Tried to rent a U-Haul. They wouldn't let me. Thank God for Uber. I had to Uber back to Madison's house and then figured a way out from there.
Yeah.
What an interesting story.
We're not going to disclose the airline, but it rhymes with American Bearlines.
Yeah.
I had a great weekend, Ward. I do want to say I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday to a text and a phone call from Ward asking me if he could come slump at my house. Didn't see it. I got it at 1:30. Didn't see it for 4 more hours. So I do want to say I apologize for not being up for you. But yeah, man, I took our boy Fry, who was on the podcast last week. We went to the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro, North Carolina. Had a hell of a time. We followed his favorite golfer, Shane Lowry, who just so happened to tee off with Justin Thomas. So us and a crowd of about 600 people followed that group for 9 holes. And then we discovered this thing, Ward. It's called the Tito's tent.
Tito's tent.
They got TVs and they got Tito's. And that is where we spent most of our time once we figured out where it was. Ninth hole at Wyndham. Great job, guys. I want to give a round of applause. Justin Thomas, brutal to watch play golf. The pace of play is incredibly
They take their time hitting the ball.
He is so good at golf, but he takes 5 minutes to hit a golf ball. Word, it's insane.
He's making a lot more money than us, and he's a lot better than we'll ever be in golf. So,
but yeah, that was our weekends. You guys let us know how your weeks have gone so far. This probably come out Thursday morning. If we're being honest, it's a little late here.
Yeah.
But our favorite segment, man, first favorite and forgotten, episode 19. Ward, I'm gonna let you have the T-box on this one, brother.
Cam, thanks for passing me the ball. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it up and hit a bomb here. My first number 19 NFL superstar in 2020. I wouldn't really call him a superstar anymore. He's half running back, half wide receiver. He's had 10 starting quarterbacks the past 2 years. Go with Mr. Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, man, that's a great pick. South Carolina legend for anybody in this area.
Go Cox.
They love some Deebo. And you guys know Cam Taylor. When it's not football or basketball season, Cam Taylor's for the Cox, baby. Come on. My first year growing up in Louisville, I went across the river a lot to watch this guy play. It's Joey Votto, probably the third or fourth greatest Red of all time. I know we're not a baseball pod, but I remember going over the river with Luke Stout and his family to watch the Reds all the time when I lived in Louisville. So Joey Votto, my first for number 19.
Hey, I used to play with Joey Votto all the time back in MLB 2. I think it was MLB 2K12. I want to say on Xbox. So shout out to Joey. Love to get you on the pod. But my favorite number 19 is going to be a man that has not yet made it to the primetime league. He's a college football legend. He has won 2 national championships in college football. This individual wears number 19. He's the best tight end to come out of the SEC the past 10 years. He is better than Kyle Pitts. And his name is Brock Bowers from UGA.
I love me some Brock Bowers, man.
Gotta love that guy, right?
You might be talking about the greatest tight end prospect ever.
Ever.
If we're talking, I mean, true freshman starting at Georgia, playing tight end. I mean, he's an ass kicker up front. He can catch the ball, man. Brock Bowers was a great call, Ward. My favorite, I'm gonna go a little bit of throwback, Ward. And I was obsessed with the U 30 for 30s growing up. So here I'm gonna go Bernie Kosar, my guy, played quarterback for the Canes in the 80s, excuse me. Played for the Browns. We don't have to talk about that, but Bernie Kosar, part of the U, kind of turned him around. One of the first great quarterbacks there. So I'm going to go with Bernie Kosar.
Great pick. So I guess it's my forgotten. I'm going with my forgotten. This individual torched the Redskins football team for a couple of years. He was hurt a lot of times, a couple of years too. I think he only had one big starting quarterback while he was in Dallas. This individual is now Deshaun Watson, aka as Sean McMahon says, the rapist. But this individual now is on the Cleveland Browns, and his name is Amari Cooper. He wears number 2 now, but he wore number 19 on the Cowboys. So that's my forgotten number 19.
Yeah, Deshaun, miss us with the defamation. Please don't come after us. We don't have anything for you. I got 2 here for forgotten, Ward. I got you're not gonna like this one. I got Miles Austin, who was
wrong with it.
A good receiver when he grew up. I'm not going to say he's a Hall of Famer. He's like a poor man's Hines Ward, really.
He used to torch us.
He was fun to watch, but my favorite one is I'm going to go Joe Montana in Kansas City, number 19.
Okay.
Never won a ring in Kansas City, but all-time quarterback, man. And when you get a quarterback like that, you know, Brady did it. Rodgers is going through it right now. They don't really look right in a jersey. Joe Montana was like that for Kansas City. But yeah, man, we got some fans' fat takes to read off here. You're going to have to excuse me. I'm not going to look at the camera. I've got to read this. Another thing, we're reading off our phones because we couldn't get Ward's computer to connect to the Wi-Fi for our doc. So here, Justin Alford, starting us out every week. We got your shirt coming to you, big dog. But Justin says, thought the dinner conflict was hilarious. If you missed that last week, I had a kind of a weird situation.
Go check it out.
But since you guys are talking Tigers-Panthers crossovers, my pet peeve of the week is the Panthers' refusal to draft a Clemson player. They're the only team in the NFL award that has never drafted a Clemson player. I couldn't believe that when I read it. I had to fact check it.
I was looking at it.
I had to fact check it, and Justin Alford always comes with the facts. I don't think he's gotten anything wrong.
He has not gotten anything wrong yet.
But he did say they had a chance to take the hometown linebacker from Mallard Creek, Trenton Simpson. Side note, dude ran for 350 yards against me my senior year.
Hey, I played against him in the state championship.
Panthers have never won a Super Bowl, and I think this is the main reason why. Not drafting a Clemson player. I don't know if that's the reason why, if we're being honest, but yeah, I would be frustrated if I was you for sure. And he did point out no sweetness for Walter Payton on the nicknames. We
not throw Walter Payton.
We didn't. No Walter Payton. I went back and listened to it because I couldn't believe it. Sweetness is a great call. He should have made it. He should have been one of the draft picks, for being honest. But yeah, Uncle Weezy, he put 4 hashtags, which I can only assume means bleep. He said bleep that guy, his wife, his kids, his parents and grandparents. You should have ordered another meal, Cam. He also threw in some nicknames. We got the Axe Murderer for Vanderlei Silva, the Natural Born Killer for Carlos Condit, the Freak, Randy Moss. I've never heard that one. Revis Island for Darrell Revis, one of the greatest corners of all time. And then Demolition Man for Dennis Rodman.
I don't think I've ever heard the Dennis Rodman one.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before. So the old heads coming in clutch here. Wheezy, if anybody wants to get an autograph from my Uncle Wheezy, he's going to be at Panthers Jets open practice tomorrow in Charlotte.
Are y'all linking up?
Not going to be able to. We got meetings all morning. We tried to make it work, couldn't make it work, but he's going to have a ball out there watching his Jets. Ellis Spring says Texas Roadhouse guy, Common L. Could you imagine reading that to somebody in like the 1920s and having them trying to figure
Common L? Yeah, no shot. Society has changed.
He did say Sean Payton could have done it differently, but he's trying to gain some love and respect from Russ. Plus, Sean Payton was around for Bountygate. This is nothing new to him. That's a hilarious thing to say because people forget, man, he was the headmaster of Bountygate. That's why the movie's based off of, is him getting suspended for a year. We've got Kimbo Slice as a nickname. I didn't know Kimbo was not his real name, I'm going to be honest.
I didn't either.
And then Babe Ruth.
Ruth, yeah, that's a good one. I don't know his first name, but
Kevin M. Thompson on Instagram says
Highlands Hooligan. Shout out to Big Kev.
Yeah, he says Brooks Robinson, the human vacuum. I'm assuming that's a baseball player.
Yeah.
Novak says Lamar B, which is hilarious because yeah,
I've never heard that. But
and then we've got Ben Miss saying Magic was a steal. I thought that I won that draft hands down, but we don't know. We didn't get anybody to vote on it. We didn't get any votes.
I thought I won it too. So
we'll throw this one up as
we didn't get any votes on that one either.
As a 3-way tie for this one. But top stories, Ward. The biggest story right now is conference realignment with no doubt. I've kind of lost my notes here, so I'm going to have to go off memory. So if I get it wrong, don't get mad at me. I think we had Arizona State and Arizona have a board meeting after Colorado says they're joining the Big 12. Mm-hmm. So Colorado joins the Big 12. Arizona and Arizona State also join the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Silent for a few days. We have Oregon and Washington join the Big 10. Mm-hmm. And then we have, we have Utah and one more school. I can't remember who joined the Big 12. So the Pac-12 is done. And then we also have a meeting between the ACC, ADs, and presidents and the league this week discussing whether to add Stanford and
California.
Could you imagine that road trip in the middle of the week to go play those teams?
Just imagine the name, Cam. Atlantic Coast Conference. California is West Coast. Stanford, which is also in California, West Coast. Maybe for football they can get away with it, Cam. So football, you play one road game, one home game, so statistically speaking. So maybe once every 2 weeks, twice a month, you'll travel East Coast. Imagine other sports. Imagine baseball. Imagine basketball. Imagine all the other sports. I mean, basketball, they play 3 times a week? Mm-hmm. So imagine having a Thursday night game against NC State. California flies to NC State, has a Thursday night game, and then on Sunday afternoon, they fly back home, then go back to Florida State to play in Tallahassee. I mean, that's a lot of traveling. The airlines might love it, but I don't know, man. I think that's gonna be pretty hard.
Yeah, man. It bothers me because obviously football is the moneymaker when it comes to college sports, but these people who are in charge are not thinking about the athletes, man. Because there's going to be a softball team or a baseball team or a basketball team or a water polo team that's going to have to make a trip from UCLA, from LA to East Rutherford, New Jersey to go play Rutgers in the middle of the week, Ward. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense. For football, it makes sense, sure, once a week. But these kids playing secondary sports are going to have a rough time. And Ward, I mean, I'm not, trying to get off on a weird tangent here, but the number one, thing for mental health in young people is lack of rest, and travel. These kids are going to be on the move.
All of the above.
On the move with schoolwork on top, plus however they performed. Whoever's making these decisions, although the money is nice, has no love or respect for these college athletes. And it frustrates me because we were both college athletes. I could not imagine making those trips, man. It's ridiculous.
Money talks at the end of the day, Cam.
But we do have one quote from a Florida State athletic director. He said, it's not a case of when, or it's not a case of if, but when we will leave the Atlantic Coast Conference. I kind of butchered that. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
I didn't know that.
Florida
That's
State,
not
not looking like it's going to be in the ACC much longer. They do have like a weird clause in their contract that none of the ACC teams can leave till 2027. It's like a $50 million buyout. But, this kind of raises the question now that we're where we are in a conference realignment award. There's really 4 big fish left out there. It's going to be UNC and Notre Dame as like the 2 must-gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Florida State. We've got Clemson. We've got Virginia Tech, kind of a level further down. Who like if you're the SEC or the Big Ten, who are you fighting for? I feel like Notre Dame is the answer, but I want to know what you have to say.
I think first 2 schools off the rip. Notre Dame, technically, they're in ACC and every other sport but football. So I'm going to throw them off the limb. The 2 teams that every conference is going after is Clemson and Florida State. Those are the 1 and 2 in the ACC right now. Florida State is a lot more likely to leave than Clemson. The reason why the ACC is trying to add these West Coast teams is because they want to make those 2 teams happy. Which Florida State, don't get me wrong, they've been good the past 20 years. But, I mean, they were good last year. They beat LSU, but they went They were a 9-win team. I mean, it's not like you're Clemson carrying the ACC for the past 5 years. Florida State kind of needs to stop overstepping their boundaries a little bit. I mean, they were up 17-0 on NC State, and we came back and beat them 19-7 in the 4th quarter. That's a conversation for another day. But, Florida State, I think you need to hound back a little bit. You're good, but you're not that good. You're not Alabama. You're not Clemson. You're not Ohio State. You're Florida State. Let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah, it's not the 90s anymore.
Yeah, it's not the 90s
It's not
anymore.
the 90s. But, it looks like the SEC, if this were to happen for the ACC, it looks like the 2 teams they're pursuing the hardest are North Carolina and Virginia. Reason being, they're not in those states right now. So just to kind of get into a new market. Word on the street, and Justin Alford might be able to rebuttal on this. Word on the street from my sources is Clemson talked to the SEC last week, and the SEC told them to kick rocks.
I did not know that.
They said that South Carolina did not want Clemson joining the SEC, and most of the teams and athletic directors took South Carolina's side on that. So I could only imagine the same thing would happen with Florida State trying to join. Looks like we're trying to get into new markets here, but we're in a weird world when it comes to college football.
You know what it sounds like it's coming to me? Just like the NFL is spread out into the NFC and the AFC, college football is soon to be spread out into the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference. Not sure how this is going to work out, but it's not sounding like, which is awful. I mean, it's going to destroy every single tradition of conference, college football, bowl games, all of that. So, I mean, we're not in a video game. This is real life. So, I don't know, man. Very, very curious to see what comes out of this.
Yep, man. Moving on. Give us your thoughts on that. I know Justin Alford is not going to be happy that I said that, and he might have better sources than me, so go ahead and drop him if you want to. But another huge story, Ward, is Tim Anderson got his ass knocked out. So Jose Ramirez with sweeping right overhand. I think his right hand touched the ground before it touched his chin. But how do you come back from that, Ward?
So you can't come back from that, Cam. Can't come back for that at all. And on national TV, on the ESPN #1 play of the week, trending on Twitter, #1 trending thing on Twitter for 2 days. Videos everywhere. If you looked at the Fat Katz podcast, if you looked at my Instagram, I reshared it. I thought it was awesome. Brings some excitement to the game. And at the end of the day, the MLB is not putting butts in seats. More stuff, I hate to say it, but more stuff like this happens, you're going to make money. This is no bad publicity coming out of this, Cam.
Yeah, man. And I will say it's unfortunate for Tim Anderson, but I don't think anything better could have happened for the sport of baseball.
Absolutely not.
If you're Tim Anderson, I think you have to move, right? Like you have to change leagues.
You better go to the Dominican and play in their national league. I would get out of the MLB. Just like when Jose Bautista, I mean, obviously Jose Bautista's a lot better, and him getting hit was not nearly as bad as this. But
Yeah, well, first of all, if anybody didn't see it, which if you didn't see it, you're probably living under a rock. He hard tag at second base. Ramirez puts his finger in his face. Tim Anderson drops his glove like a hockey game, puts his hands up. I knew he was in a bad spot when he went southpaw.
Yeah.
He went southpaw on us. It didn't look good. That right hook hit and on the ground, had to get carried off the field. So
he got caught.
I don't know how you come back from that, but you hate to say funny, but funny.
Funny, very funny.
Very funny.
I'll be the first one to say that was funny as hell.
But Ward, I think you got something to say on your new OC down there. And
so there's some stuff going on in Washington. You know, if anybody's been watching ESPN, you know, a lot of people have been calling our players sissies and saying they can't handle tough coaching. This is the one time I'm agree with them. I think our players are being a bunch of wusses. You know, I think it's funny hearing guys from the 90s that come in and talk about hard coaching. What OC has worked in Washington the last 10 years? I take that back. What offense has been in the top half of the league consistently for 2 seasons in a row since we were born in 1999? Cam, you're 2000, I'm 1999. None has. Obviously, something has to change. You bring in a new coach, he's bringing change. This coach has been to 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowls and 3 out of the last 4 AFC championships. He has a 2-time MVP quarterback that he has coached. What more can you ask for? Obviously, something he's doing is right. So I think we need to, and I'm glad this got to the media too. I'm glad Ron Rivera put this out to the media because the media is roasting the players. The players see this, it puts a chip on the player's shoulder. Now let's go out and beat the hell out of Cleveland tomorrow or on Thursday night or on Friday night preseason. Let's show Deshaun Watson what's up.
Speaking of that, man, I cannot wait for preseason football. I'm just ready to watch some ball, man. I don't care who it is.
When does it start? Tomorrow? Thursday? Yeah.
Well, we had our first game last week. To tell you guys how much of a sicko I am, I watched every single snap of the Jets-Browns game last week of the Hall of Fame game. Terrible game. I mean, it was fun to watch, but terrible football. But yeah, man, preseason.
Hey, that quarterback from
DTR.
DTR, he played good. He made a name for himself. He was making awesome. A roster.
Yeah, Kellen Mond stinks. We've known this since his sophomore year at Texas A&M, but he still stinks. Everybody, don't worry.
How's Zonovan Knight play?
Yeah, man, I did not really get a Zonovan Knight check. Bam Knight, we love him here, friend of the pod, but I was not. I was at a bar. I was eating and drinking. I wasn't really looking for.
I was watching, but not too hard. My stream kept going out. So,
but just in terms of Eric Bieniemy, real quick, you're talking about. I know we kind of jumped all over, but you're talking about a guy who, for the past 2 years, has turned down head jobs to be in the right situation. I think the plan is for him to take over for Riverboat Ron at some point. But you're talking about a guy who's been the OC for multiple top 5 finishing offenses, even going back to the Minnesota days. Like, this guy knows ball. This guy's a great coach. And I agree with you and everybody who said it. Like, this player, like, it's time to nut up, guys. Like, you're professionals. This guy's a professional. Let's go win some ball games.
Terry McCoy needs to take control of that offense. Sam Howell, if you want to be a leader, now's the time to do it.
But moving on, we've got a report that Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland is signed on the dotted line, Ward.
Sydney, Australia, here we come.
I think the press conference will probably be better than the fight. But to put those two together with microphones talking to each other is going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, as Cam, as I said earlier, and if any of our listeners know what I'm talking about, he will say it. But, Cam, I'll let you elaborate on that later. But, yeah, I think that Izzy is going to – I like Sean Strickland too, man. Sean Strickland's a head case. He is absolutely a psychopath. I like him a lot, but he is going to get his ass beat.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll touch Israel Adesanya.
I don't think he will either. And I think he knows that too. He's coming into the media talking about how he's looking for a big money fight. You look at him, what happened when him and Alex Pereira fought. It was an absolute domination. I don't know, but this is the kind of guy at the end of the day this kind of guy is a guy that's going to come in and beat Izzy. So not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. The UFC is a wicked sport.
Yeah, man, it's almost like a poor man's Chael Sonnen versus like a Anderson Silva type almost.
But if somebody's going to do it, Cam, it's Mr.
It's like crazy. It's like crazy mofo. If you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to Joe Rogan and him talk, dude. That guy has some problems. But real quick, Alvin Kamara, 3-game suspension for his alleged assault in the 2021 Pro Bowl. They've had some running backs on campus, I guess you could say. Kareem Hunt for a visit. They signed Jamal Williams. Like, they knew this was coming.
You drafted him or not? in fantasy.
Depends where he gets. If he gets past the 4th round, Alvin Kamara will be on my football team for sure. But yeah, man, I want to give a shout out to Justin for kind of suggesting this. We had this kind of ready for when we were done with draft season officially, but we figured this week was as good as any since we got it requested. We're doing our predictions 1 through 4 for each division in football. Starting out with the AFC North, my division, the Pittsburgh Steelers division, although not this year. I'm going Bengals 1, Steelers 2 with a wild card spot. Going Ravens 3 and Browns 4 here, Ward.
Cam, love it. So I'm coming in as well. So I also have Bengals at number 1. Cam, a little bit different than you. I have the Ravens at number 2 with the wild card spot. I think with Lamar being healthy, with adding OBJ, with J.K. Dobbins coming back, that's going to be an explosive offense. We'll see, though. Who knows? I have the Steelers at 3. I think the Steelers also have a very, very, very solid chance at getting another wild card spot because they have done nothing in this offseason but get better. And then at 4, sorry, Cleveland. Sorry, my buddy Brian's a big Cleveland fan. I have the Browns at 4.
Yeah, man. I want to say, I want to pick your brain. Why Ravens over Steelers? Just because I'm biased.
You to be 100% honest?
Yeah.
Because their over-under win total is 10.5, and the Steelers over-under win total is 8.
This man, you want to talk about degenerate here?
Yeah.
Looking at the lines.
And you got Lamar, man. He won the MVP 2 years ago.
Fun fact: Lamar is 2-4 as a starter against the Steelers in his career.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Browns last. Browns going to be the Browns. I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Bengals, I think, far and away the best team in this division. They've got the best quarterback in the division, the best weapons surrounding him, and a good enough defense to get the job done. Only question mark on that team is the linebackers and the offensive line. And to me, Ward, AFC North, best division in football. I don't know if you think that.
It's negotiable.
But moving on to the AFC West, I've got the Chiefs finishing 1st, the Chargers 2nd, Broncos 3rd, Raiders in last place. Sorry, Jay Fry.
Same thing. I have the same exact predictions there.
Yeah, I think that one was pretty cut and dry. I will say that.
So who makes a wild card out of that?
I would probably give the Chargers a wild card spot there.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody in the South getting a wild card spot.
I have the Chargers taking a wild card spot there as well.
I'll say reason I put Raiders last. If James Fry does not know what's going on with the Raiders at this point in the season, they're going to suck bad. AFC South, Ward, I'm gonna let you take this one. Let's hear what you got.
Yep. So the AFC South, I have the Jags coming in at 1st, and a little bit different here. I have the Colts actually finishing 2nd. They've done a ton of work this offseason as well. I have the Titans finishing 3rd. The Titans have lost their whole team. They don't have a quarterback, and they did bring in D-Hop, but curious behind that. I have the Titans finishing 3rd, and I have the Texans finishing 4th.
Yeah, man. I've got the Jags at 1, best quarterback in the division, best defense in the division. I've got the Titans at 2. To me, this is their last chance. This is the last year of the window to have a good football team before the rebuild starts. So I'm going to go Titans at 2 with Ryan Tannehill as the starter, his last hoorah before my boy Will Levis takes over the reins in Nashville. I've got the Colts at 3. You guys know what I think about Anthony Richardson. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yep.
If you stink in college, you're probably going to stink in the NFL. And then last, I've got the Texans who, had a good draft, had a good offseason. I don't think they're there yet. First-year head coach, first-year quarterback. It's going to be a rough ride in Houston.
It is going to be very rough.
And wrapping up the AFC, Ward, maybe the best division of ball. Now that I look at it, maybe the best division of ball. I've got Bills at 1 here. I've got Jets getting a wild card spot, Dolphins at 3, and Pats at 4.
I have the same exact thing. Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Pats.
Moving on to the NFC, I want to remind everybody, drop your rankings down here. Let us know.
Who did we miss? What teams did we get wrong?
What teams are we too high on? What teams are we too low on? But, yeah, moving on to the NFC. We've got a lot of different in this.
We have a lot of different in this. I know my NFC hard, so I'm ready to talk about this.
We're going NFC North first. I've got the Lions finishing 1st in the North. I've got the Vikings 2nd, Bears 3rd, Packers 4th.
So great pick. This is a great NFC North. There's nothing but question marks here. So this is the only winner that I think we have different of the division. I have the Vikings coming in and winning this. I really like Dan Campbell. I really like the Lions. I just cannot choose them to win this division. The reason why I say that is the Lions every year, and I know people that are big Lions fans, and the reason why I say this is they're not even thinking they're going to win the division because every time the Lions come in overhyped, they're humbled quick. I remember last year when they played Washington, that was the first time they had been favored to win a game at home in like 5 years. They ended up winning. They won. But that's just the reason, there's a lot of hype coming behind them, but I can't buy into the hype yet. So for that, I have the Vikings winning. The Vikings have so many weapons. If you've watched the new show Quarterback on Netflix, Kirk Cousins is a cool guy.
Great show.
Great show. Absolutely amazing show. So for that, I'm riding with the Vikings at 1. I do have the Lions coming in at 2, and I also have the Lions coming in with a wild card spot. And then where me and Cam are also different is I have the Packers at 3. Packers have lost a ton of people, but I just do not see them being worse than the Bears. And then I have the Bears, Justin Fields coming in at 4.
Yeah, man. So I'm going Lions at 1. I think Dan Campbell, this is kind of the year that the turn starts to happen. Jared Goff, people don't realize
Jared Goff's good, dude.
Jared Goff was great last season. They've got some really fun weapons around him. I didn't love their draft. They got guys that fit the culture. I think they reached on a lot of guys, but they had a good draft. The defense is there. And I love Dan Campbell, man.
I like Dan Campbell too.
I think this is the year. The Vikings defense is not looking great right now on paper, although they do have the best receiver in the NFL. So that they're going to be my second pick. I also have them getting a wild card spot. I like Kirk, man. At 1 o'clock on Sundays, I love him. Any other time, he kind of stinks. But yeah, man, I'm going Vikings too. I've got Bears at 3. I think they've finally given Justin Fields like adequate weapons, like actual NFL players around him and the skills. Thank you guys for pick number 32 for Chase Claypool. That was the steal of the century. But yeah, I've got Bears and then Packers. Jordan Love's got to prove it to me.
He does.
That offense is decimated. Like Aaron Rodgers took every skill player, it felt like, from that team except for Christian Watkins. And then the defense is good. I'm not saying they're bad, but I just don't think that they can make up for having, Jordan Love as their quarterback. Moving on, NFC West. I'm going to go 49ers here at 1. I'm going to go Seahawks with a wild card spot, Cardinals, and Rams.
Cam, the only thing I'm different than you here, I also have the Niners winning. The only switch I have with you here was I also have the Seahawks at 2. The switch I have was the Rams and the Cardinals. I think the Rams are going to finish 3rd. I think the Cardinals are going to finish 4th. I think the Cardinals might have the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. I think between them, the Buccaneers, and the Raiders, those are going to be arguably the 3 worst teams in football. But we will see, Cam.
Yeah, the Rams are weird to me because they still have Stafford coming off of a very scary injury. They've got Cooper Kupp coming back. The offense, I'm always going to trust that offense with McVay. But outside of Aaron Donald, can you name a guy on their defense?
Not Jalen Ramsey anymore. Bobby Wagner's gone now.
My point exactly. The defense is decimated. Like I said with the Titans, this is their last year, but they're already in rebuild mode. Like they're trading away some of their really good players for picks. They're in a weird spot, like where you want to win because you have Aaron Donald and Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, but you don't really have the assets around them. So that's why, and they're one injury away from being terrible.
They're one injury away. Exactly. You're right.
And that's not to say I'm high on the Cardinals. I'm not. I just think the Rams are so like they have to be perfect this year to get a playoff spot.
Yep.
NFC South, man, you look at these teams and it's rough because they're all not very good. I'm going to go Saints at first just because I think they're the best quarterback in the division. I'm going to go Panthers at 2, led by Bryce Young, Falcons at 3, and Bucks at 4.
Love it. Cam, I have the same exact thing as you. And for all you Panthers fans out there, stop it. Stop it. You have a first-year quarterback. You have a brand-new head coach. Stop thinking you're going to come in and win the division year 1. You're battling with Derek Carr, who's a seasoned veteran. He's been there. The Falcons don't. They have Taylor Heineke, the greatest backup quarterback in the NFL. Probably week 4, week 5 starter. Just throwing that out there. And then you got Tampa Bay. They suck too. I think there's a good chance the Panthers or the second. Whoever plays the second in this division, I think there's a good – actually, no, there's no wild card there because they're going to be – yeah, scratch that. Winner of this division makes the playoffs. No wild card coming out of this division.
Yeah, man. To me, honestly, the thing I watch the most out of this division is who wins the Bucs job, man. You got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask down there battling it out.
Are they not announced a starter yet?
No, there's reports.
Who's starting on Friday night in preseason?
I would say that Baker is, but there is reports that Baker in 9 practices has thrown 11 interceptions. But yeah, that's the NFC South. Not high in that division. This is one of the reasons I think that winning a division shouldn't get you a playoff spot, because somebody may prove me wrong. There's no reason a team in this division should be in a playoff. That's just me. But moving on to another great division, one that when we were growing up was kind of a bad division and has now become a powerhouse. I'm gonna go NFC East. I got Eagles winning the division, Giants getting a wild card spot, Commanders finishing third, and the Cowboys finishing fourth.
I love it. And Cam, just like you said, the AFC East is your best division in football. This is my best division in football. The NFC East, the NFC Beast. I also have the Eagles winning the division. I think there's a good chance the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year. At 2, Cam, and I really hate saying this, but I have the Cowboys. And the reason why I say that, you look at they have a top 5 defense in the NFL. I don't know about top 5, maybe top 10 defense in the NFL. They have the number 4 ranked player in the ESPN, or is Micah Parsons 5 or 4? Is he 9 or 4?
I think it was 5.
Is he 5? Okay. Micah Parsons, top 5 player in the ESPN 100 list for NFL players. You look at their offensive line, they have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. You look at their wide receiver core, they have Brandon Cooks now, new addition. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have Michael Gallup. You look at their running back, they have Tony Pollard. They still have a shitty top 16 quarterback, or bottom half 16 quarterback, Dak Prescott. This is his make it or break it year. So have them at 2. And I actually have the Giants at 3 and the Commanders at 4. Cam, before, and all my Redskins fans, Commanders fans, before I get backlash on this, I have the Commanders at 4 because there's nothing they can do but prove me wrong. So I'm aiming low, and they have a high ceiling. So Commanders at 2.
Under promise, over deliver from our guy Riverboat Ron over here. I like what you had to say, and I will say I was wrong. Travis Kelce is 5 on the players list. I don't know where Micah Parsons is.
He's either 9 or 4. I can't remember.
But yeah, man, I think the Eagles are the best team in that division by far, honestly. The reason I'm so low on the Cowboys is just because, like, I feel like
they're gonna suck.
I hope
they do.
I feel like we do this dance every year where it's like the Cowboys are going to be good this year. I don't know how good, and then you put them at second in the division, and then they're terrible. Last year that didn't happen, but I feel like that happens most of the time. Dak has an injury history. The defense doesn't look great. They've got a corner that they call the best corner in the league. He gives up the most yards in the league, believe it or not.
Yep.
If you can't tell, I'm not high on Trayvon Diggs, by the way.
Me neither.
But yeah, man, I like the Commander. I like your guys'. I don't want to say that you're going to get a wild card spot or anything, but I like your guys' roster. I think this is kind of like the first year of a true rebuild for the first time it feels like in a long time. And yeah, I think you guys might get some momentum here at the end of the season, or this season, kind of get into it. But yeah, man, to finish off the show here, we got Pet Peeve of the Week. And Ward, I'm going to let you go first, man.
I'll go ahead and go first. And I think it's funny. I actually have a note list in my phone of my Pet Peeve of the Week. When I can run across stuff, I throw it in my phone so I don't forget. But this is my Pet Peeve of the Week this week. There is nothing worse than cheap toilet paper, Cam. There's nothing like – so I experienced this past weekend in Florida. My friend Dodge buys cheap toilet paper, which we did get in an argument about. But there's nothing like going and eating a great Mexican meal, eating some fajitas. You're feeling great. You get back. Those refried beans are hitting you a little bit different. You got to get to the bathroom. You do a Zach Wilson, a number 2, and you get some toilet paper, and it's that real thin stuff. I'm not going to go into detail. If you've ever used cheap toilet paper, you've experienced it. But yeah, don't buy cheap toilet paper. Spend the extra $2, Cam.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. We
how about we buy the extra thick in my household?
Okay. If anybody, this will only hit with my family, but if you ever go to Uncle Tommy's bathroom, you know that there's no worse toilet paper in the world than in Uncle Tommy's bathroom. Yeah, man, that's the worst in the world. My mom, I told her what your Pet Peeve of the Week is. She said that she retweets.
Okay.
So she's getting on the new trend.
Hashtag retweet, praise emoji.
She's a little bit late. She doesn't know that Twitter is now X. I told her I told her that she re-X'd it. She didn't like that. But yeah, man, my Pet Peeve of the Week is going to be golf attire as a spectator. There's nothing worse I don't know for you. For me, I hate wearing khakis. I hate wearing like a polo shirt. I want to wear a black t-shirt and black sweatpants every single day of my life. Why can't I go watch a golf event in that? Why do I have to wear a collar? Like, I'm playing the event.
That's true.
It's ridiculous. I hate it. And all these guys, like, I saw one guy wearing sweatpants or he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and people were talking about him like he was the worst person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am. I'm like, I wish I was that guy right now. But I do have a quick story about our tour. I didn't say it at the beginning. So I took Fry, like I said. I met a guy, Ward, from Harlan, Kentucky, which is right over the river from where my family's from. It's Eastern Kentucky. We're in Southern West Virginia. And I was talking to him, I like talking to other people. I like having conversations. Fry does not, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not. You only grew up with him. So we're talking, and he's talking about Harlan and everything. Fry looks at him in the face. He goes, "Never Leave Harlan Alive. Good song, man." And walks away as we're having a conversation with this guy. And yeah, man. Oh, we just had somebody walk in. Yeah, man. We're having a conversation with this guy, and he says that, and then just walks away. Like, dude, what are you doing? But yeah, Fry, different way of communication for that young man for sure. But yeah, man, as we kind of close it out here, we got full plate, empty stomach. I think you already touched on it, but I'll let you go again.
I'll go ahead and go with my full plate, and I know I touched on it earlier. Not going to go over it, but it's Eric Bieniemy. He's bringing a spark to that Commanders offense. And my empty stomach this week is actually going to be Nate Diaz. I'm not sure if anybody watched the Nate Diaz Jake Paul fight. I did not. I fell asleep. Unfortunately, I did get back and watch the highlights. Nate looks awful, man. Nate looks awful. He didn't do much. I don't think he won one round, but he got him in a guillotine chokehold in a boxing fight. Kudos to you, but not really interested in watching y'all fight in MMA either. Nate, you're getting old. It's time to hang it up. Don't ruin your pride.
Yeah, man. Nate was obviously there just to collect a check.
Yes.
He was not there to
collected
fight.
a bag.
I will say I did not watch the fight. Well, I did watch it. I didn't pay for it. I vowed after watching the Ben Askren Jake Paul card that I would never buy a Jake Paul fight again. I've stuck to that till this day. Yeah, man, that was a tough watch. That was almost as bad as watching his brother, his last UFC fight. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go for my full plate. I'm gonna go UK men's basketball alumni. I saw something that 3 of the top 5 annually paid players are all Kentucky Wildcats. First on the list, Anthony Davis. 4th, we had Devin Booker, and 5th, Karl Anthony Towns. That needs to go on every single recruiting poster, sent out to every single recruit you want. If you guys want to get paid, go to Kentucky, I promise. And then for my empty stomach, I'm going to go the Orioles announcer award. I don't know if you've seen this story. An Orioles announcer after the game was reading stats off of a graphic talking about how the Orioles had lost so many games against the Rays since whatever year or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the ownership suspended him for 2 weeks. They put out the video. It's a 2-minute clip. He's talking like me and you are right now. I'm waiting for him to say a slur or say something, bad that I had to watch it 2 or 3 times to figure out. He didn't say anything. All he said was the Orioles are terrible against the Rays. That's all he said.
They suspended him for
that. They suspended him for 2 weeks without pay indefinitely. So I want to say, Orioles, ownership, whoever did this, shame on you. The guy's doing his job, man. He's sitting here talking sports. He's giving information to the fans, and you want to throw a hissy fit because you stink against the Rays? I excuse my language. That's bullshit. Yep. This guy got suspended for reading off a graphic that somebody in the graphics team made, by the way. That nobody else got suspended but him. I want to say big suck it to the Orioles as a franchise. That is despicable.
Cam, what you're saying, if you don't like it, then fix it?
Yeah, if you don't like it, fix it.
If you don't like it, fix it, man.
Yeah, if you don't like it, fix it.
Beat the damn Tampa Bay Rays. But
yeah, man.
Cam, what's your song of the week, my friend?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go here. And this is a classic. I'm going to go Red Dot Music, Mac Miller, and Action Bronson.
Great song. Great. Actually, I've never heard that song. I'm sure if I went back and listened to it, I might know it. But
so it's an early 2010 song. Everybody who knows me knows I love Mac Miller. I've gotten told that I look like Action Bronson. Just look him up. Action Bronson 2 or 3 times in my life. 2 of my favorite white rappers.
Love it. Love it. So my song this week is actually going to be something different. And it's going to be the live version. Not the regular version, but the live version. I've just now jumped on the Zach Bryan train. Haven't been big on the Zach Bryan train. About a week ago, got pretty big on it. Been listening to it hard. There's a song called Godspeed, the live version. Check it out on Spotify. Absolutely great song. The non-live version kind of sucks, not going to lie. The live version, amazing. Check it out.
Yeah, Ward's only about 3 years late on the Zach Bryan train here. But one last time, we'll flash these shirts.
And check the big dogs out. Cam, clip this and put it on the Instagram.
We love it. But yeah, man, we're going to get out of here. I want to remind everybody real quick, Instagram, Threads, TikTok at Fat Katz Pod. That's KATZ. YouTube, Spotify. We're gonna get Apple Music one of these days.
Yeah, one day.
But at the Fat Katz Podcast, and that was our first in-person show, live show.
Hey, just to see if anybody's made it this far, I don't owe you a beer this time. If you send me a text with the keyword "I love Fat Cats," I will Venmo you a special surprise. So who's ever made it this far, text me "I love Fat Cats." You'll get a Venmo from me.
If you text me, I love Fat Cats, I'll send you a shirtless picture of myself.
Great pod. Episode 19 in the books. Let's get it, baby.